people join as it's going on. Would you like to all introduce yourself? It's like a 2-minute introduction. Just give us a rundown of who you are, what you'd like to see happening, and why you think you'd be able to make it happen. Wayne, if you'd like to start, please.
So
put my glasses on so I can hear you.
Yeah, you can hear me, right? So yeah, so my name's Wayne Dixon, as you can see on the screen, and I'm the Social Democratic Party candidate. I've been standing in the area since 2016 because I've felt let down by the mainstream parties. And I feel that as a local resident who's lived here all their lives, that I can make a difference. And yeah, I can make a difference without being elected, but I feel like I can do more being elected. And that's why I'm standing for election. And I will continue to do so until our councillors start listening to residents more. I also feel that the council has failed to deal with issues for many years, and how long do they need is kind of the question that comes to mind there, is because the same problems are here since the 80s when I was a kid, and they will continue to be here unless there's radical change. And I feel Middleton and Belle Isle are ready for that change. I'm invested in the community. I bring up my family here. And the reason I joined the Social Democratic Party is because of their focus on the family and the community. So the party's policies are all aligned to support family life and community life. And that's me in a nutshell, as far as I'm concerned.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
Sorry, Wayne, it's just that we're getting to the end of sort of 2 minutes.
Yeah, no.
Okay, well, would you like to go next, please?
Yeah, hi everyone. My name is Taiwa Diemi. I am the Conservative candidate for Middleton Park ward. I do live in this ward with my family. We did move to this area a few years ago. We did live in Belle Isle and now currently live in Middleton. So I have happened to live in both sides of the ward. I am an educator, and my ultimate goal is to make sure that I do bring about a positive change to this community and ensure that we remain a thriving community. I believe that, I do have the required communication skills, the experience and the energy to help address the local issues that we do face as a community. I also feel there is a need for new ideas, new representation of hardworking people of this ward. I think a lot of, I feel my knowledge and understanding of the ward will help, as well as my life experiences, to help people get their voice heard on issues that are very important to them, very much about promoting their rights, knowing their responsibilities within the ward. I think people in this ward are very, very hardworking, and it's about time that we do see some changes. And I think I will be able to support and help with that.
Thank you. Kelly, would you like to go next, please?
Hiya. So I'm Kaylee Asquith, and I'm running for the Green Party this year, second year running. I've lived in Belle Isle now for 12, 13 years. I'm a mother of 4 children, and what I want for the area is I want to make LS10 South Leeds, the Middleton ward, and other wards if we could, a nice place to bring children up. Reflecting on some of those questions that are there, we'll get to. I've worked hard in the community. I've done a lot of litter picking and working with other with sort of resources such as community centres, helping people with food parcels. I want to help as many people as I can. I don't have all the answers, but I'm willing to work with my community and do the best that I can. Thank you.
Peter, please, could you give us a rundown of yourself?
Yep. Hi, I'm Peter Chambers, and I'm the local Labour candidate. Firstly, I'd want to just give you a little bit about my background as well. So throughout my life, I've volunteered with people with dementia. I've volunteered with the homeless. I've volunteered in community cafes, and I've done some litter picking as well. Professionally, I've worked in mental health hospitals, worked with people with learning disabilities in care homes, and I've been an advocate too. I've also worked as a coordinator, and I manage specialist services in South Leeds. Being a key worker during the pandemic as well, I really saw how resilient our community was, and it just made me so proud to live in this community and work for this community in a professional manner. And I think with all those experiences well equipped me for public service. So that is why I've chosen to put myself forward and hopefully to be successful as the local Labour candidate and to be a councillor. Thank you.
Right. First question, if you were elected, would you be willing to give up your present employment, or do you think that you could do your own job and be the local councillor as well? Can we start off this time with Tewo?
Yep. I am going to be having discussion with my employer because I would like to give my full-time commitment to my role as a councillor if I am elected. I currently have a very demanding job, but working 9 to 5 is not what I traditionally do. So there is a way that I will be able to work reduced hours and be committed to being a councillor 24/7, because I already work around the clock as an educator, which is common knowledge. But I am dedicated and committed to the people if I am elected, and I will assure you that I will work around the clock to sort local issues.
Kaylee, would you like to go next, please?
So I'm a full-time mum, and it catches up being a mum, unfortunately, or fortunately. But I would be, as Tewo said, I would be fully committed. I already am, and I already show my commitment to my community, and I already fit around my children and my family time, and I do utilise any spare time that I have by using it for my community purposes.
Thank you. Peter?
Hi, yeah. So currently I've already spoken to my employer. So if I was successful and being the councillor for this area, I've already spoken to my employer about any meetings that I would need to attend. I've already been able to say that I would be able to get that off. So I've already organised that beforehand. Also, obviously, if you were a councillor for a bit longer and you get any paid roles, then I would have to consider my position in my workplace to see if, because I might not be able to juggle those both. So I've already prepared for being a councillor with my job, but if I had to take any additional roles, then I probably would have to think about leaving my employment, because that would be a large commitment.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you. Wayne?
Yeah, so I currently work full-time and I would plan to reduce my hours. I already work full-time and managed to still put in around 15 hours of work a week, voluntary work. So I'm not scared of putting work in. I've previously held jobs in warehouses where you work 70 hours a week. So yeah, I'm not scared of a bit of work. So I would have to probably reduce my hours to keep me sane, but yeah, I would do that. So yeah.
Keep you sane and married.
Yeah.
I think you've all actually answered the next one. Is, do you all live in the area? And I think you all do, don't you? Yeah.
Yeah.
So, do you belong to any community group or do any volunteer work in the area? And do you think that this type of work helps you to get to know the needs of the area better? This could we start with Kaylee, please?
Yeah, I volunteer and I help when and where I can. I've done several community litter picks and bringing the community together, such as the Hustings Cemetery. I've done that now 2 years running. I'm going to do it again this year. It's a small one this year. I'm going to do it again. I also help out at the Cranmore Rayland Centre. And it does help. It does help because you listen to the people. The people are what matter, and they bring your troubles and to you and what their issues are in the area, and you try and work with them. It's all about it's about the people, isn't it? So you need to do what you can with them, not for them, but work with them. So yeah, it does help. It helps a lot.
And Pete, could you go next, please?
Yeah, no problem. So I have volunteered with litter picks as well. I've done that down in Hunslet quite a few times. So that's, you always get to chat to people, and it's really nice to talk to local residents there. Also, then you do pick up a lot of problems, I think, when you're litter picking, because you do have a chance to chat to people. So that's really nice. So I do think it definitely does help, because you get to meet people and chat to people. Community groups, I have been going to the Middleton Park community group. I do love the Middleton Park, so I definitely have been going to that one, and that's been a real pleasure to go to. And I do think that helps to understand what's going on in the local community. So there's my answer.
And Wayne, could you go next, please?
Yeah, I mean, I've volunteered since 16-year-old, and I've always volunteered in the community. I started at the Leeds United Foundation, educating young people from primary school age when I was at sixth form at Coburn High School all those years ago. And I've set up a local football club, and now we have around 220 players playing every week. As well as that, I do set up litter picks. I'm also the secretary of the Middleton Community Group. And yeah, I've done many more. Again, I used to be on the board of the South Leeds Life. I've sat as a, previously sat as a governor at Middleton St Mary's School. Yeah, I always muck in where I can. I volunteer, I've been helping people out with housing issues as well lately, and lots of other different stuff. People often ring me thinking I am the councillor, and I'm always willing to help people, as well as working for local charities for the last 15 years. Yeah, so I'm always doing lots of stuff locally. So I think it's important to know, like you say, it does let you know what the issues are. But like my volunteering has always been focused in the ward in Middleton and Belial, and which is both places where I've always lived. So yeah, I'll shut up and let someone else move on now. But yeah.
Okay, well, could you go next, please?
Yes, unlike these amazing people, I'm not part of a community group, but I am very lucky in terms of my workplace. It is the heart of the community, and I do get to see members of this community on a regular basis, and it is very easy to see which part of our community I'm very much interested in, and it's very much all of it, because I do interact with people from all sorts within our community, and I know for a fact that that's something I'm very grateful for. If and when given the opportunity to lead and become a councillor, if I am elected, I will then be throwing myself into more work with the community, and then I will have, be a part of a community group. But at the moment, the demands of my job has not allowed me to have those time, and also being a parent, full-time parent, and it's understandable, but I do, and I'm very grateful for the amazing work that these guys already do within our community.
Thank you. Right, the next question is, if you were elected, would you put the area first, or would you vote in council meetings the way you've been told to, if that is not in the best interest of this area? Who's next? I've lost. Peter, could you go first, please, this time?
Yeah, I feel like that question's talking about the whips, and if so, so I'll just break it down a little bit. So you've got planning and you've got licensing, and they are quasi-judicial. So what you would need to do there's no whip for them. So you vote how you feel would be the best for the community. So that one, there's no whip to follow on that one. Put in the interests of the need, put in the area first. We always got to have a balance. We've always got to think about the community that we're representing, and then because we are city, we would be a city council, we'd have to think about the city, because as well, anything that affects West Leeds or North Leeds or East Leeds also can affect South Leeds as well. So we've got to think about that in the wider context too. But I would definitely always be an advocate for the area, because that's what you've been elected for, to advocate for the area and the best that you can do for this area. When it comes to the whip as well, we would always have really robust discussions about how policy is laid out for Leeds City Council as well. So we've always got to think about that. So thank you.
Right, thank you. Wayne, could you go next, please?
Yeah, so first and foremost, I'm part of a party that doesn't have a whip system, so I have freedom to vote how and where I like. And for example, like I know a lot of Labour councillors didn't want to vote against not buying the Sugar Hill estate in Ulton, which is just down the road, this year, but they all voted against it. And there's stuff like that. They voted against scrapping bulky waste charges last year, but this year suddenly decided want to scrap them this year, which I was calling for a few years ago. So for me, the Labour system's just not consistent. They're told how to vote and they just do what they say, like sheep, where I have the freedom to vote with my conscience. And yeah, I know Sugar Hill is in Ulton, and how it might affect us is that we have massive waiting lists for council housing in Leeds. So that's put pressure on the housing system even more, because we've got less stock, where that would have alleviated a little bit of that pressure. So yeah, the answer to that is I will always vote what's best for the people of Leeds. So.
Yeah. Teo, could you go next, please?
Yeah, I think it's really important to lead with integrity. So when it comes to decisions that are being made about people's life, jobs, and things like that, way of living, I will always put the needs of the people of this ward first, regardless of what the system in place is. Well, I do understand there's got to be a balance. And where there is a balance, if there is a compromise that could be made, I will always try and reach that with the other councillors, of course. But it will always be that the needs of the ward is put first, making sure that I represent the people that I do represent, do get the decision. They are part of the decision that has been made, like I said, about their lives, their generations to generations. You know, we do need to put that in, and that's it really. So whilst the general decision might be in favour of the whole city council, the ward will come first, and the needs of the people of this ward will be put in. They will have a chance to make be part of the decision making, and whatever that outcome is, I will then take that forward.
Thank you. Kaylee, could you go next, please?
Yeah, mine's short and sweet. I will always vote for the people. I will always listen to my community, and I will always vote for them. I will always vote for whatever they want. I will always listen for them.
All right, thank you. Before we go on to the next question, could I ask anybody that's in the audience if you've got any questions that you'd like to ask any of the prospective councillors, if you could put them in the notes and then we can get round to them. Thank you. Next, it would be from a gentleman on the Parnabys, and he would like to ask the candidates how they feel Labour are currently running the local area. Because it's 9 months since the park and ride opened. The promised planters that were supposed to be there before anything opened have still not been planted along Parnaby Road. And I'm just reading from his, he missed last summer, and the elected councillors are not visible enough, you know, for things like that, that people are wanting them to be. How would you connect with this area if you did get elected? And this time, could we start with you, Wayne, please?
Yeah, so I've followed this for a while, because I was on the campaign group to stop the park and ride originally, which then came to reducing it in size. So I've supported residents down there to try and get some improvements alongside the park and ride development. And yeah, I mean, planters don't seem a big thing for most people, but the residents wanted them, they were promised them, and everything just seems to take so long with council at the minute. Personally, I'm quite hands-on, so I'd probably be there planting it myself. Because I just think sometimes it's easier just to crack on and do it yourself sometimes. So yeah, I'd be well behind residents and pushing them, pushing for their improvements, what they were promised, because it's only right. And I think sometimes our councillors are too often breaking promises, and if I promise something, I deliver it. If it's simple as that. If I can't do something or I'm not sure I'll do it, I'll say I'm not sure I can do it, but I'll try, and I'll be always honest and upfront, because that's just how I work. And if elected, I'll continue to be as visible as I am now. If not elected, I'll still be visible, because I don't need to get elected to start doing things in the community. I do it before and after, and whether I'm elected or not, because I care about where I live.
Sarah, could you go next, please?
Yes, I think if there is more than one complaint about the issues, the local issues, and what the councillors are currently doing about it, could it be that the fact that we've got one party run system, running the same party running the ward, could that be something that needs to be addressed, and that we may actually need a diversity of thoughts, okay, and ideas, rather than everybody going in the same direction? And that could be a good thing for people of this ward. And I think that's something that I could bring in if elected as councillor. I do have strong moral values, and I will obviously offer different ways of thinking to help bring about a solution to some of the complaints that might have been raised in the past.
Thank you. Kelly, would you go next, please?
I will. Reflecting on Wayne and Teo have said, I agree. I fully agree with the pair of you. I do think that it's time to throw somebody new in the mix and give the community a bit of change, a bit of diversity, as opposed to a one political party run community. I feel that if residents spoke up and said that they want something and you're not delivering and you're not giving them it, they're going to think, why do I bother? And then they're gonna resent that party. I think you need to be giving them what they're asking for. As Wayne said, if they're asking and asking, they're going to get fed up and going to want to do it themselves. And sometimes it's easier to go and do that. I'm already known in the community for the right reasons. I already listen to my community, I act on it, and I do it, and I work with them. I go and do it with them because I am a resident of this community, and it's what I want to. So yeah, that's what I'm going to say.
Peter, could you go next, please?
Hello. So answering that question, if you look at some of the record of the Labour councillors in this area, they have invested in the area. They have started the gym, so that was an investment from the Labour councillors. Also, if you have a look at children's places in schools, 85% of them got their first preference as well for schools that they wanted to go to, and each year that has actually improved as well. So I think our record, because I know a lot of local people want to make sure that they can get the school that for their children that they want. I think that's something good for our record as well as a Labour administration. So that's just something that I do think that we are running really well. So we've invested in the area, we've continued to invest in the area. When it comes to the Parnabys as well, we've invested in CCTV as well in that area. Also, when it comes to the planters too, so there is planters. It depends how the planting scheme for that is actually done. So it could be Parks and Countries that are doing that, or it could be a part of the Park and Ride scheme. I'm not sure, but depending what plants you are, depending what year that part of the year that you can put it in. Also with the trees, that's the same. So things might seem staggered, but if you put in plants that are not good for that time of year, they won't take, they'll die, and it will cost more money. So that's something just to add onto the planter situation. So you do got to plant it at the right time. So that's maybe why, Wayne, you're thinking it's taken a bit longer. It's because it does need to be planted at the right time. So like trees need to be planted in the winter.
Right. Next question. There's been a lot of antisocial behaviour. the quad bikes that dig up the centre of the ring road, and buses getting damaged with kids throwing stones at buses and things. It's caused a lot of distress to passengers on the bus, obviously how scary that is, and residents seeing flowers and bulbs mown down. Do you have any thoughts or solutions? Could we start with you, Taylor?
Yes, I'm quite passionate about working with young people. And when it comes to antisocial behaviour, I think this is one of the things I would really like to support with by working with the local police team to ensure that, number one, the young people out on the street are aware of what they should be doing in terms of their responsibilities, and any offence are dealt with. But at the very crucial part of that is working with schools to set up some form of prevention and intervention programs that does target the young people from a very early age, so that they are aware of the implications of their actions. Throwing things at buses is not a behaviour that we expect from the citizens of this ward. Making sure that there is a good working party between the schools, locals, even as small as primary schools, with the families of the children that do live in the community, to ensure that they are able to let them know what right and wrong is, so that they do not go on become a nuisance to the society. In terms of security really and safety, so that we know that we can go through and support families, they are safe, and we can put a stop to all of that by working collectively as a community. And the social behaviour that are crime related, ensure that we work again very, very hard with the policing team to ensure that they are criminalised and dealt with.
Thank you. Kaylee, could you go next, please?
Just want to say that behaviour is appalling. It is absolutely appalling behaviour. But there's not much for kids to do nowadays, and it doesn't warrant what they are doing either. But if we're going to be taking things away from them, like community-led groups where their attention is elsewhere, they're going to get bored. We need to put something back into the community. We need to give these kids something to do. I've actually been on the bus before when I've had a stone or a brick lobbed at it. It's not right. I'm on that side. I've felt it. It's not good. It is awful. You know, you need to work with as Taylor said, echoing that, you need to work with the police and community team. I do know our local communities PCSOs that have popped by my house before now, and I work with them and find out quad biking and things, and I've reported certain things as well in the area. But it's about working together. You need to get the community working together. We've set up the community bike fit, and we have children around in the 6-week holidays, young lads, keeping them busy, keeping them mind occupied, teaching them how to fix bikes and taking something away with them when they leave here, a new skill and something to do. So yeah, you need to work with as Taylor said as well, I echo you there, and hats off to you, working with the schools. It's a very good idea to yeah.
Thank you. Could you go next, Peter, please?
Yes, no problem. So like you, Kayla, I've been on the receiving end when I've been on the bus of stones being thrown, and it's not nice at all. So I can echo that. Also echo what you say about working with schools. We need to work with schools, colleges, and also we need to work with Safer Leeds as well, which the council, obviously that's council running Safer Leeds, with the police as well. Also, I just want to widen it by actually speaking about people with complex needs. So there are some people with complex needs that people see, there can be times where antisocial behaviour is due to complex needs, and we need to make sure that we're working with our third sector organisations, our charities that works with people with complex needs and mental health needs and disabilities, to make sure that they're well supported as well. So I think we really need to look at the holistic approach, not just young people, because there are some young people that cause antisocial behaviour, but it's not just a young person's problem, antisocial behaviour. So I think we've got to look broader. So when it comes to antisocial behaviour, also when it comes to quad bikes, that is a real issue for the area, and it's not an easy one actually to solve. The police and Safer Leeds do work together to try and resolve the quad bike issue, but when the police are driving after them, there's only certain police units that can do that, so not all the police force can do that. So that is an issue, and that is actually an issue from central government, because obviously they've cut 20,000 police. We're not getting the funding that we need for our police to make sure our streets are safe. So I do think that this is a central government issue as well, because we do need the funding to make sure that we've got the police and the police units that we need. So I would just really want more funding for the police to make sure that our streets are safer, because without that funding, it will be more of a struggle. So we do need that funding.
Thank you. Wayne, could you go next, please?
Yeah, I'd echo what Peter said about the police. Like, the Tories have just literally ripped the heart out of the police, and have basically just trying to now sell it to us that they're recruiting more police, when really they're just replacing what they've already ripped out. So the police need more funding. We were lucky, in previous years the council have managed to fund PCSOs, and they've now cut that, which I was quite upset to see. But there's a few things I'd like to maybe look at doing, and I think if we can try and make it difficult to pass across the Bilal Road, for example, like with some like low level fencing, so that it's not easy to drive the quads on there, so they can't just cut across the traffic and onto the other side. Little things like that might make it a little bit more difficult for them. Yeah, I know it's going to be hard to stop, but it's just one thing. And in terms of antisocial behaviour, as an ex-youth worker, I'm quite keen to see more youth work, but not just generic youth groups, more issue-based youth work, addressing different issues young people have got. I used to work for something called the Cupboard Project, which no longer exists, but it used to work with children identified at risk of this kind of behaviour within schools, and work with them outside school to focus on their needs, basically, and look at the different issues, what they've got. And I felt that quite successful. And again, that funding was cut for that, but it was really valuable stuff that the Cupboard Project did, and I'd like to see more of that kind of youth work, really. But also, like, there is actually quite a lot to do in the area for young people. I think the biggest problem is the cost of the activities. And it's the lower income families that are really struggling to access that stuff. So I'd like to look at how we get more young people on lower incomes involved in stuff. For example, the football club I run, although we run by volunteers, we still have to pay costs for hiring pitches at council and training venues and stuff like that. And I'd like to see how we try and let kids what can't really afford £165 a year to access that kind of stuff. And same with the rugby club and stuff. There's things there. Dazzle are really good at that. They're good at getting the funding in to cover that. So I find a lot of the kids that are on lower incomes access Dazzle fairly easily because it's funded and it can be done. So we just need to look at funding different things and helping different groups like football clubs, rugby clubs, etc., get funding from external partners and charities like Lottery, for example, and stuff. So maybe a bit of support for them to find that funding would probably be helpful in the long run. But yeah, sorry, I'm ranting.
You've all thrown me completely now. Have you any thoughts I want to sort of take these next to the other way around. Have you got any thoughts about how to discourage or stop the fly tipping, and why we have over the last few years seen the problem grow so much? Because it's I've lost count of who went. Right, Kaylee, if you could start it.
Oh, might help you press the right one. So over the last few years, we've not actually had in this ward an active environmental action officer. The one that we had previously retired, and then we had a sort of sober temp. I am actually working with the environmental action officer that we do have now in this area, and I've worked with her on quite a few cases recently. People, locals, residents can also report fly tipping so we can crack down on it. Myself and Wayne last year, but we're going to still do it, I believe, put a flyer out to alert people that during the pandemic it was an easy way for people to make money, to go and collect people's garden waste and dispose of that and fly tip it, but they were getting money in their hand. People aren't aware of the correct licensing that you need to do that, to remove that waste from their garden, so that the person who is paid for it removing knows it's actually going to the correct way, the correct waste place. So therefore, you're paying in good faith for your waste to be taken from your garden, thinking it's going to be disposed of correctly, for it to turn up on somebody else's lawn or somebody's farmland. So myself and Wayne worked together last year to put the licensing, make people aware of the licenses that you need to do that, so you know you're paying somebody in good faith and the correct way to do it. There is now an environmental action officer for us who is very good, I must say. And as a resident, if you have issues with fly tipping, you can report it online yourself.
Thank you for that. I didn't know there was a problem with the licensing officer or anything. It's something that, as a general public, you don't get into and you don't see the reasons why and things like that. So it's good to hear. Is that Peter? Could you go next, please?
Yeah. So when it comes to waste, Leeds City Council have been listening to people's concerns around fly tipping. That's why in September 2021, there was a new team formed, and it was called the Serious Environmental Crime Team. And they were set up to look at, say, for example, big organizations that would be dumping their litter or and fly tipping within that within our area and within the city. So that is something that Leeds City Council has listened to and responded to. It is looking for local intelligence as well to help understand who's doing it and then to be able to tackle those issues. So that it's really a proactive way of actually tackling fly tipping and not looking at individuals that are fly tipping. That's looking at big organizations fly tipping, and they will have a lot of waste if they are fly tipping. I'm just touching on the point that I think you've raised there, Kaylee, as well, and that's the team that have been looking at that. So commercial fly tipping. Also, I think what would put people off is we make sure is when you're a councillor, you can send out a lot of letters to residents. So what I would be doing is I'll be making sure that residents who are reporting a lot of fly tipping in their area, to make sure that they're aware of how to report fly tipping, like online, or the phone numbers as well to be able to get, and make sure that our community is well equipped with that information, because with good information that then we can reduce fly tipping down, and it would put people off if we have high reporting of fly tipping in this area as well.
Right, thank you. Wayne, could you go next, please?
Yeah, I mean, for years, the first thing that I've been shouting about is the bulky waste charges, which is, I'm glad that the council have finally seen sense and removed them, and I actually think that will actually have an impact going forward. So yeah, I'm glad they've done that, but I also think that trying to do a bit more, what's the word, like putting portable cameras up and stuff in hotspots and trying to catch these people from doing it again and again might be helpful. I'm not sure legalities of that, but that's something I'd definitely like to research and why that's not getting done anymore. Because, like, I'll give one tiny example is, my kids go to Sharplane School, and every morning I walk past the front of the household waste site, and there's always rubbish just left there. And I just think it's council land could quite easily put a camera facing the bin where every rubbish is left and find out who it is overnight, but obviously there's probably reasons that's not happening, and I'd like to look at what they are and hopefully tackle those. But I'd also like the first thing that the staff are doing before they open up is clearing that waste, because at the minute the site's open and the waste's still there, and I just think it's one thing they could just do on the morning routine. So there's little things, because I'm a big believer in the broken windows theory, whereas if you don't clear it up, it gets worse. So as much as people might say, oh, you're just clearing it up, I'm like, well, let's clear it up. I don't care. Because if you don't, they'll just add to it, and people will add to it, and it'll just get worse. And I think there's parts of Middleton and Belial that are very much victims of the broken windows theory. And yeah, so I want to continue to keep clearing it up, which again, I mentioned before, I've always got stuck in and done it myself because I'm not scared of a bit of work. And I think people appreciate it. I hope they do anyway. And it's nice that residents come and join me and help me, and it gives a big sense of community doing that. So yeah, sorry.
Okay, well, could you go next, please? You're muted.
Yep, I think most of the points have already been covered. I think I would like to work with the council to make sure that the people of this ward are empowered to take actions and ultimately prevent it if possible. Right, just like Wayne said, clearing it up is taking manpower, and obviously if we can prevent it in the first place is good. I do agree that we might need some way of monitoring that, so installing CCTV in hotspots might also be helpful. But also if we all look at our responsibilities as people of this ward and sort of be our brother's keeper, so to speak, so that everybody sees it and reports it, and think about how we can put an end to it. Hopefully it doesn't become problems from one generation to the other, but definitely empower people to take action and hopefully help prevent it in the future.
Thank you. Now, Sarah's asked this, the council have invested in Middleton Park with Friends of Middleton Park for Children. If you are elected, how would you look at improving all the smaller parks, you know, the little ones that are on the estate in the area, as some are now quite dangerous for children to be playing on? Could we start with you, Peter, please?
Hi, so yeah, the Leeds City Council does invest in Middleton Park. It's a great park. I think we've all probably been there and can appreciate how good the park is in Middleton Park. But for the smaller areas within Middleton and Belial, and I do think if obviously we have to look at the local budget and make sure that we've got, because we have to be responsible with the budget that we would be given, and we would need to make sure that we can actually fund local parks and make sure we can keep up and maintain them. So we do have to look at our budget, because our budget has been cut from central government time and time again. These do make these things harder, and I think it's good to be honest with people and say it is harder to do these things with over 10 years of austerity from the government. So we would have to look to see if we've got the budget for that, and then if we do, I would definitely be wanting to make more areas for children to play, because I think it's very important to have that. And not everybody can get to Middleton Park. It is a big ward. It is hard for people to get there. If you've got mobility issues, it will be hard to get there sometimes. And I think it's good as well for people to be able to take their kids a lot more locally than just Middleton Park. So that would be my stance on that one.
Thank you. Wayne, could you go next, please?
Yeah, yeah. So obviously, I'd be looking at using budgets to try and improve parks, especially the ones in Belial are shocking, and like I think it's not only about funding them and improving them; it's about maintenance as well. Like there's prime examples, like on the Cranmores, where there was a perfectly good floodlit football stroke basketball court when I was a kid. We played in it for hours. It was floodlit. It was used every night by children, and over the years the council have just not done anything with it, and now it's got trees growing in the middle of it, and it's just such a shame to see such a facility just wasted and like left to rot. So I'd like to see like those kind of things that are already there, maybe looked at for development and to bring a bit of life back to them and let kids use them, because the electrics are there, everything's there. It's just finding the funding to resurface it, refence it round. And they're quick wins in some respects. Obviously it's easier said than done, but I also believe that like it's not only about council funds. I think there's enough passion within the community to do fundraisers to find some of the money towards it. I think people locally are quite, passionate about the children and the children's physical health, which can be, a benefit to us all, that we can raise money using that. And yeah, so that's kind of what I would do. I'd look to a community crowdfunding as well as council money.
Taylor, what's your?
Yeah, I think with regards to the cost, cost might not necessarily be the only solution to some of these issues that we do have in our local parks. And I think if everyone does take responsibility for their actions, putting the litter in the bin, making sure that any form of vandalism is actually followed up. And then we know that when our kids do go out to use the parks, if they've had food in there, they will clean up after themselves, because the reality is funding might not be as available as we are expecting it to be. And I think it just to echo what Wayne did say, it might just be that people within the community that are very much desperate for a cleaner environment could come together and make sure that they are going around checking that everybody that's using it is doing it responsibly and not just expecting that bill to be put by the government.
Thank you. Kelly, you haven't answered this one yet, have you?
Firstly, I'd remove the damaged equipment at the park. So we need to safeguard our children and our community. Pointless leaving half a swing there. You need to get rid of that. I'd try some community fundraising events for the equipment if the money isn't available in the council, echoing Wayne there. And also I'll try and make one close to the Middleton Park, disability inclusive. I think we need to reach everybody. We need to include everybody there, and see if you can do some funding via external resources. Community action cleanup days, get everybody involved in fence painting, fixing, maintenance. Obviously maintenance have to be covered, insured by council people. Get some painted murals, brighten up the places by local artists, get everybody involved, kids that have got hidden talents, get them involved, get them there, brighten up his areas, things like that. That's what I'd do. I think it's very important to keep these parks where they are. Personally, I'm quite concerned that they are being deemed invaluable. They're not invaluable. They are used by our children and our youth of the area, and taking them and building new houses on them is just taking things from underneath children's noses.
This one's actually from me. Do you think road safety should be brought back in schools as a council policy? Because little ones aren't taught anymore. We used to have the Tufty Club, the Green Cross Code, that little man that would dress like a superhero and all the rest of it. There is nothing now. And there's a lot of children that are from overseas that don't even see roads like our major roads until they've come to live in England. And there's nobody teaching them the road sense. And I feel personally that the council demonise the car, but people have got to be brought up and taught in school how to use roads and things, and it's a shame that there isn't that anymore. Can we start with you, Wayne, please?
Yeah, I mean, I'm all for anything that keeps kids safe. I think nobody's going to argue with that. And yeah, I mean, I always remember those lessons at school, which were quite basic, but in some respects, parents should be doing anyway. But yeah, I'd definitely be up for working on that. But I'm pretty sure schools do stuff like that. I'd be shocked if they didn't. But Yeah, maybe they don't, but
Apparently they used to have the police going in occasionally and giving talks, which
Yeah.
don't really, but because of cutbacks and things, that doesn't happen anymore.
I think it'd be obviously up to individual schools to decide what they wanted to do, but there's no harm in talking to each school and highlighting that it's an issue locally and getting those schools to act on it, which I'm sure they would. So,
Taylor, could you give your views on that, please? You're muted.
Yeah, I think in terms of what schools are having to cover, there are things that could be done around the school. So, for example, the zebra crossing at schools could be made a lot more bolder. So schools could easily help with that in terms of, like, we already know the importance of teaching them. We could look about probably putting speed humps around school location area, so that not only for the parents to slow down what they're driving, or just to make sure the children do understand why that is in place. I think orienting children and making them know the colours of the lights and things like that when they are on the road, when the green light is on, just daily practice around the school location itself. Like you said, for the little ones that might not know what to do on their own, would be a great idea.
You're muted, Kelly.
Oh, did you say my name? I do apologise. Yeah, I think
You're
education.
watching Emmerdale.
No, I don't think education should finish at 3:15 when it's kicking out time for kids. I think it's down to parenting as well. And I do think more should be done in schools to bring back road safety awareness and to bring back other vulnerabilities for children to make them aware of those. I remember the advert Charlie always said, always tell your mummy before you walk off. But I do remember that advert. Remember the little police car that used to come in when I was in primary school and tell you all about like strange man in the streets or strange woman in the streets or person. I agree, but I also think it's down to parenting too. It is a parent's responsibility to make our children aware of these things. But I do think there should be something in schools as well.
Peter, your views, please.
Oh yeah, so I just want to just add that schools and academies do operate quite autonomously. So it would be working with those schools to actually, advocate for road safety if they're not doing it already. I would also just like to add, that everybody should be taught how to use the road safely, because it is really important. So yes, simply, but it's not the fault of the council. We can advocate for that, but we need to speak to, the schools need to act on that, because they do act quite autonomously, schools and academies. So I think that's why it's good to have representation on the governor's board as well, to push for these things within the schools. But also, Kaylee, I do agree with you. I think it's schools and parents that should be teaching these things as well. You're on mute, Linda.
Your turn now, Linda.
Okay, try again. What do you know about how the council functions, including the makeup of decision making and the boards and everything? Could we start with you this time, Taylor?
I'm not very knowledgeable about this part, but I know for a fact that there are decision-making boards on certain areas, such as children and their families, housing, road, traffic, and things around that, very much around the people of this council, the Leeds City Council. And in terms of function of the council, is to make sure that they do listen to the people of this community, not just Middleton Park ward, but the other wards, other 33 wards that the Leeds City Council do look after.
Thank you. Kaylee, could you go next, please?
You heard my name then. I'm going to be honest, I'm not an expert on this, but I have a fantastic local team and I'm more than willing to get stuck in the deep end and learn. And I also want to be open with residents when I do find out how that works, and let residents be involved a little bit more. I think it's a lack of knowledge based on local politics for me there, but I'm willing to learn.
Thank you. Peter?
Oh yeah, so when it comes to decision making, obviously there's a lot of scrutiny boards, and any decision making board within the council, it is actually cross party. So all the every party that's represented within Leeds has a seat at the table, because that's how the decision making is made up within Leeds. So for example, you will have Conservatives on there, you will have Green candidates on there, and you will have Labour councillors on there. So you will have all different parties on those boards, on any decision making board. So, and then they'll have discussions on, they'll be able to put white papers forward within council and things like that. So that's the function of the decision making aspect within the council. So yeah, it is cross party, on decision making boards, and there are discussions with the Green councillors, with the Labour councillors, with the Conservative councillors as well. So that's how it's kind of set up, just in simple terms.
Wayne, could you go next, please?
Yeah, I know that obviously Leeds City Council is set up in a cabinet system, so the leader appoints a cabinet who have lead responsibilities for certain departments. So in some respects, there's quite a few people that are really powerful within the council, and a lot of other councils use a committee system, which is a much better way of doing it, in my opinion, and allows opposition parties to have more say than it would do as the cabinet system does, because the cabinet system really pretty much makes it a dictatorship in some respects. Because they can just literally like make the decisions as they want in most of the way. So yeah, that's kind of that's
Okay. To sort of get near winding up, could I ask you, I'm just going back to the question, sorry. If we could say, what do you actually think the people of the Middleton Park ward are needing, wanting, or are worried about? And could we start this time with you, Kaylee, please? Is it? Yes,
I think they want to be listened to, they want to be heard, and they want action taken that reflects on what their thoughts and what their needs are. I think they need somebody that's there, that can be accessed easy, that can be spoken to, that their thoughts can be reflected by you. When you're elected as a councillor, you're an advocate for the people, and I think you've got to be strong-willed and you have to stand your ground and be there, not be vacant, be present, and that's what they're wanting. That's what they're worried about.
Right, thank you, Peter. If you could go next, please.
I just want to say, I think that the local residents want people that are present. Just going back to what you said about the committee system, Wayne, if we were back in the committee system with Leeds City Council, councillors would spend all their time in committees. They would always be in committees, and it's harder for them to get out into the community. I know councillors now have said when there's not this committee system, they are able to be more present within the community. So I think that's really important. So I don't think we should go back to the committee system, because that doesn't give us the ability to be out and about within our ward. Would be in Civic Hall all the time. So I think that's something that our residents may not want. Also, housing's a big issue as well. We need to be able to build more houses within Leeds, the whole of Leeds and South Leeds, because there is a massive housing issue. It has been exacerbated because people are able to buy their council houses, but the government has not been letting us build more council houses. So that is something that is really what our residents really want, is more housing. But obviously that comes from central government. They've got to give councils the ability to build more houses. As somebody that works in health and social care as well, for this community, I'm a manager in health and social care. I know that people of South Leeds really do want to know more services and know what what our services are as well. So I do think we need to get the word out there for local residents about services that are available to them. And so there are a few points. There's many things that people want in this ward, but there's a few.
Thank you. Wayne, next, please.
Yeah, there's many things people want, and as someone who's working in mental health services at the minute, I think people want more action taken to support people with mental health conditions, including myself. Really, I want that, and especially for young people as well. With CAM's waiting list really long, it'd be nice to have some leading up support for young people, maybe in schools. If we could look at doing that, that'd be great. Where to go, really, like there's so much people want, like housing, as Peter's mentioned, is massive, and we do need to build more council houses, but we also need new council houses to be protected from the right to buy, in my opinion. And in fact, my party policy is that new builds are protected from the right to buy. So councils can build council houses with that protection, so that the properties just don't disappear. And then the older buildings could still be bought by right to buy, but have to be replaced. That's our party policy, and I think that makes total sense. So it allows people to get on the property ladder, but at the same time allows councils to keep building council houses and not lose their new stock immediately. So there's lots in area. I mean, I think what people really want is someone who's honest and tells them as it is. And I know Peter don't think I'm very honest and trustworthy, but I think people think you did write a leaflet saying that. I do think people do trust me and do believe that I am honest. So yeah, so that's what people want. Thanks.
Thank you. Taylor, could I have your views, please?
Yeah, people want, needs and worry does vary from one family to another, but from what I've gathered, most people actually do want safety and security. They do want to be fully represented. A lot of families do also want access to school places, play area and park area that are safe and litter free, of course. And if I am elected, I believe I will fully represent the hardworking people of this community. One other thing that's come up quite a lot, especially with young families, is when it comes to access to actual resources to help support children with their education. A lot of families, whilst they might work very well with the school and attend the events at the school, majority of the families also do want to know how to best support their children to do very well at school. And that's something that I would really like to support families with if I am elected.
Thank you. Before we wind up, is there any more questions from anybody that's in the audience that's there listening? No? In that case, I'd just like to thank you all for coming, and hopefully it will be on YouTube tomorrow for everybody to view and see, and then they can make their own minds up then. Thank you.
Thank you very much for having us, Linda. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you very much.
Best of luck, everybody.
Go back to your telly now.
Oh, I'm not watching it. I don't watch telly, not anymore. Can't, too busy. But best of luck to everybody with the elections.
Right. How can we? Are you in charge of it?
Jeremy, do you have to stop recording?
Aha.
Yeah, I'll do that. Don't worry.